Hello, friends. I'm Andrea Morris, and welcome to the first ever podcast episode of Spill the Wine. As you might imagine, Spill the Wine is a podcast about wine, and it's a fun journey that we should be having with wine tastings disguised to debunk some of the myths about wine, because there are so very many. Like, you have to know something about wine in order to enjoy it, or wine has to be expensive in order to be good. We're debunking all of this in this podcast. So we are going to start our journey off on Spill the Wine with Cornerstone Winery, which is one of my favorite little spots in the Niagara region. And it's also one of the few places that produces fruit wine. We are here with the lovely Nina, and she is going to be our host for the afternoon, or for the next hour, rather. Hello, Nina.
Hello. Good to see you again.
Good to see you as well. So tell me a little bit about Cornerstone. How did you guys get started?
We're actually in our second generation. My parents started the winery. We purchased the farm back in 1999. And at the time, about half of the farm was empty. So my parents were asking neighbors and locals, like, what's the hot crop? What's the thing to plant in the turn of the century in Niagara? And everybody said the same thing. Everybody said wine grapes. Wineries were just starting to expand sort of out of Niagara on the lake and establishing vineyards out here to source those wineries. So everybody said, plant grapes, people are going to need them, wineries are going to pop up, and you'll be in business. So that's what we did. For a few years, we were simply grape growers that supplied other wineries. And in 2002, we decided to, in 2002, we had our first real crop. And we sold most of those grapes. We kept a few for ourselves and made a little wine for ourselves. And for the next couple of years, we decided to continue doing that until 2005, when we decided to go full throttle and do it ourselves and open our own winery.
Did you hire a winemaker, or did you make your own wine yourselves?
A bit of both over the years. We've always had either an assistant winemaker, a winemaking consultant, a full-blown winemaker, a professional around. But my parents also know how to make wine. They both grew up on farms in communist Poland, so people used what they had. And my dad actually studied agricultural engineering back in Poland, which is essentially a degree in farming. So they're quite well versed in agriculture, particularly specializing in fruit.
Hence the fruit wines that we'll be trying.
Hence the fruit wines. So on a day-to-day basis, I would say it's usually me and Dad doing a lot of the hands-on work in terms of winemaking, but we do have a winemaking consultant at the moment that is just making sure everything's done by the book, making sure everything's the way it's supposed to be. So it's very collaborative. Everybody does everything.
In a small winery, that seems to be the way things go.
Yeah. I feel like I never really leave, but then it's not so terrible when you like your job.
Well, and there's a little bit of you in all the wine, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we're going to do a tasting today so that I can tell the listeners what your wines are like, and kind of like a virtual wine tasting. So while you're listening, friends, you're not going to be able to taste it, but you're going to want to.
Let's grab a couple glasses.
Let's do it, and let's start some tasting. And I just add that we will have photos on the show notes of all the wines that we're tasting today. So what are we starting with, Nina?
We're going to start with one of my favorite wines, a nice, crisp Riesling.
Ooh.
This, my friends, is Bad Moon Riesling from 2020.
Love the name. Brings a little Creedence Clearwater into it.
Yeah. All right.
It is a lovely color. Kind of a light yellow.
Yeah, pretty pale.
Pretty pale.
This wine was a really interesting production for us, actually. Typically, in our productions, we simply use our own grapes. We grow about 11 acres of grapes. But in 2020, first of all, 2020 was weird.
COVID year.
We all remember it was a strange year. It was particularly interesting for us in 2020 because as my parents own the winery and they live on the property, technically all of this is registered under their home address.
Oh.
So we could kind of work from home in a way. And we were able to do a lot of things that a lot of wineries couldn't do. And we complained at the time, how many times did I hear my friends saying, oh, I'm so bored. I've watched Tiger King twice. And meanwhile, I'm here 7 days a week doing things in the vineyard that I've never even done just to keep things moving along.
Wow.
But back to this Bad Moon Riesling. We ended up making this Riesling not only from our own vineyards, but also from two of our neighbors. Independent growers, a lot of them had some issues in 2020. Wineries that were under lockdown and didn't have someone on the property, didn't have someone who could, quote, work from home.
Right.
Ended up stuck with their grapes. And the grapes don't care. They're going to grow regardless. And they're only going to last so long. So we took all of them. Whatever anyone came calling with, we took it on.
And this is the result, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, if the tables were turned, you want your neighbor to do the same for you, right? And that's kind of how we started. When we were grape growers, there were times when we were stuck with grapes as well, and you hope that someone would help you out. So
yeah, it's one of the nice things about the Niagara region. It seems that everybody really has each other's back.
Yeah. It's, if we're having a good year, we're all having a good year.
Yeah.
If we're having a 2020, then, we're all in it together. So let's taste it.
So let's taste it. Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers. Our first wine tasting.
So the funny thing about this Riesling, I get to write the labels and put all the content together. And I realized all three vineyards ended up harvested the exact same day, which was Halloween of 2020.
Oh.
Yes. Halloween in 2020 was not only a full moon that night, but it was a blue moon. So really spooky vibes, plus it's COVID Halloween, so none of the kids are trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
It's just a really cool coincidence that all the grapes, even from different vineyards, were harvested that night. So we couldn't resist the CCR pun.
Yeah, exactly.
And Bad Moon Riesling was born.
And great t-shirts. And the wine has a nice citrusy overtone to it, I find.
Yeah. It's very lemon, green apple.
If you were going to serve this wine with something, what would you serve it with? Like a fish or a light pasta?
My favorite is honey garlic wings.
Oh, okay. Now we're talking.
Yes. Actually, let me tell you what it says on the label here.
Okay.
Should I just read the whole thing for you?
If you would like, go right ahead.
Let's do it. Hand harvested by the glow of the October blue moon before crushing and gently pressing. Fermented in stainless steel tanks and bottled under a blood moon. Forgot to mention that part. Pale straw color with aromas of grapefruit and green apple. Medium acidity on the palate with zesty lemongrass notes and a hint of sweetness at 7 grams per liter residual sugar. Pair with honey garlic wings, Cajun shrimp, or anything as bittersweet as 2020 was.
Oh, that's great.
There's a Bad Moon on the Ries.
Nice. Nice.
It's a fun one,
You should send a bottle to John Fogerty.
I should. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Get him to do a little jingle for you. We'll get him to listen.
Yeah.
That's our name. Really lovely, very light, really refreshing for summer. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. It's like adult lemonade on a hot day,
Oh, love that sound.
Like a day like today.
Yeah.
You just want to sit outside and have something that's, refreshing and crisp and thirst quenching and a little bit acidic, but not bone dry.
And also not overly sweet either. Yeah. It's just a really nice thirst quencher. Mm-hmm. And you could easily go through a bottle with this.
Oh, yeah.
But we won't because we're going to move on to our next wine.
That's right.
Which is... Ooh.
Our next one is a rosé.
Which is also perfect for a hot summer day.
Yes.
I might say.
So, friends, are we ready for some blush hour?
Ooh.
This is actually technically blush hour 2, if you will.
Blush hour, the sequel.
Yeah, it's the second version of this rosé. As I mentioned, we started making wine back in 2002, but it wasn't until 2020 that we made our first rosé. January of 2020, before things got messy, we collaborated with a few other wineries and we decided to do our own passport, pass.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the one
Yeah.
where you pay, in advance and then you get to go to all these wineries and taste.
A bunch of different wines.
Yeah.
For one small price.
Yes, yeah. So we did this passport thing, and it was only $19, and each passport was good for 2 people to go to 6 wineries and taste 3 wines each. I believe the math adds up to 36 tastings.
That is a bargain at twice the price, my friends.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So we sold a lot of these tickets. I think it went through WagJag, and they were a hit. And you could use these passports up until the end of December. So you had the whole year to use them.
That's incredible, because usually it's just one weekend for that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But because it's a bunch of small wineries, we thought, let's give people, a lot of allowance. Some people may not be from here. I don't want to make them go to 6 wineries in a day.
And then get trashed and get in an accident on the way home.
Yeah. So
Don't drink and drive, listeners.
don't drink and drive.
Yes. Always have a designated driver. But
Yeah.
so your
drink and
blush hour became a product of that.
Yeah, so we kept so once we locked down in March of 2020, of course, we couldn't do any tastings or anything of that sort. But when we reopened for outdoor tastings in June, it was like people had never seen grass. We have never seen so many people here as we did that summer. We had cars parked up all the way to our neighbor's fence.
Wow.
I was calling anyone I knew in Beamsville who had the weekend off, friends from high school. I was like, listen, I'll pay you $20 an hour. Just come in and help me pour wine, because it was absolute chaos because people wanted to use these passports, right? They bought them in January. We opened up in June. They didn't know, nobody knew what was going on.
Right.
I was sending my coworkers to my parents' house to go drag their patio furniture over here to just put people somewhere. It was chaos, but at the same time, it was good because it was nice to see that people were still wanting to support local and come out and, help us pay our bills, I suppose.
Right. Yeah. Recover from COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all summer, I kept hearing the same thing. And because people couldn't even come indoors yet, and before I'd even get anyone a menu, I kept hearing the same phrase all summer long. For my 3 samples, I want to try a white, a red, and a rosé. And I mean, we have port, we have fruit wines, we have ice wine, late harvest, sparkling, but we didn't have rosé. So that fall, I thought, let's just do it. Let's do a rosé. It can't be that difficult. I mean, we can make white wine, we can make red wine, we can make fruit wine, and all kinds of wines. Let's do a rosé. People not only want rosé,
They're begging for it.
they anticipate rosé. They just assume we have rosé. It's not even that, do you have it? No, I want it. So in 2020, we took a portion of our Gamay and our Cabernet Franc and did about a 50-50 blend. It came out beautiful. It was very raspberry, cranberry notes. It was on the dry side, but it was this beautiful coral color. And it was such a hit that we did it again in 2021, which is what we're tasting now. It's finally getting to the point of the story.
A 2021 blush hour.
So, yes. The thing with wines is it's hard to make the same wine twice. Almost impossible when working in small batches.
Well, because there's so much that affects a wine, like the terrain, the weather. There's so many different varieties of things that could happen to change the wine. So it's interesting that you said that, because it's very true.
Yeah. Even though
this actually smells like a little bit of raspberry, I think.
I get a lot of raspberry, strawberry.
Yeah, very fruity smelling.
Yes. And then on the palate, I get more watermelon. It's very summer fruit.
It's sweeter than the 2020.
A little bit.
A little bit sweeter, but it's got a little bit of that watermelon on it. You're right. And on the back of my palate.
Yep.
It's really lovely. This is another great hot weather.
Yeah.
Chill this, sit outside, read a book, have a barbecue.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Listener, you will love this. It's really, really great.
Now,
I'm blushing for blush hour.
It does come with a treat. because
Oh,
our tasting notes are written in the form of a poem.
how great is that?
How convenient. So, listeners, if you want to hear it, I'm going to read it for you anyway. All right, this is Blush Hour 2. It's served chilled. It's quite pink. It's so easy to drink. It's our new favorite crushable wine. Pair it with some light cheese or some seafood, yes please. Either way, it's sure to shine. On the palate, you'll find strawberry intertwined with grapefruit and watermelon too. With Cab Franc and Gamay on a hot summer day, you'll be reaching for Blush Hour 2.
Woo! I would agree with that poem 100%.
My grandmother writes a lot of poetry, so I channeled her and decided to do that for all of our rosés now. Write them as poems.
Make it a collector series of poetry.
Yeah.
There'll be a little a Blush Hour book in the future.
Yes.
Poetry. It's really lovely. And listener, it's a very hot day here today as we record this, so this is absolutely fantastic and refreshing.
We can call it prosé. Like prose.
I love that idea.
We're on to something.
Yay.
Are we ready for our next wine?
We are ready.
We're going to open up some red.
Oh.
We've done a white, we've done a rosé. Now it's time for red.
As people would request at a wine tasting.
Yeah. We're going to try a variety that is super common in Niagara, but not as much for the rest of the world. We're going to try some Cabernet Franc.
It is a big wine in this region. And it's a lovely color, listener. Kind of looks like a plum. It's that color purple of a plum.
Yes.
And smells a little plummy as well.
Yeah, this one's really interesting.
It's a very complex nose to it.
So,
and for those of you new to the wine world, nose means the smell. And that's not really being snobby. But now you can use that when you go to a wine tasting.
the bouquet,
The array, the nose. Now you can sound like foo-foo.
Yeah. So, I'm sure you're aware of Cabernet Franc, but for those who may not be aware of Cabernet Franc, I'm sure everyone's aware of Cabernet Sauvignon. Cab Sauv is the world's most grown grape in the most regions in the world, by acreage, by liters. It's the red grape everybody knows. But Cabernet Sauvignon is a hybrid. Maybe not a hybrid, but it's not a...
The bastard child of Cabernet.
Kind of. Cabernet Franc is the original Cabernet. In fact, if you follow if you just simply look at the word Cabernet Sauvignon, you can figure out who the mother is. It's Sauvignon Blanc.
Aha.
Yeah. Cabernet Franc, Sauvignon Blanc, you get Cabernet Sauvignon. They wanted to make the super grape. And they did. I mean, Cabernet Sauvignon is a hit everywhere you plant it. But it can struggle in some cooler climates. There are pockets of Niagara where it grows fantastic, but there's also pockets where it's a little too cold for it.
We are on what's called the bench region. So we're a little higher elevation here than in, say, Niagara on the Lake. Correct?
Where we are actually is kind of, I would say, on par with some parts. We are on the cusp of the bench and Lincoln Lakeshore.
True. Okay. Yeah.
So we're at the foot of the bench, you could say.
Yes. Yeah. But you're technically on the land that used to be the lake.
That's right. This is all underwater. So the soil is full of minerals that you wouldn't find on the top of the escarpment, for example.
Right. Because with the lake bed, you would have like layers of sand and shale and all kinds of different things that make it more complex, which also affects the taste of the wine.
That's right.
Yeah. Which I think is why this wine does well in this region.
Yes, Cabernet Franc does really well in Niagara, while Cab Sauv really requires a a long, hot, dry season, Cabernet Franc, like hot, cold, wet, dry, Cab Franc is pretty much going to be okay year after year. That's why it's so commonly planted. It's a very reliable grape in this area. The thing with Cab Franc, though, is as a wine, it can be a little bit shy. It can take a while for it to come out of its shell because we're in a cooler climate. And because of just the inherent characteristics of Cabernet Franc, it can be a little higher in acidity and lower in sugar and a little more tannins in it. So when it's young, it's a little bit rougher on the edges. But if you give it some time, Cabernet Franc can be stunning. We're actually drinking a 2016 Cabernet Franc, which is why you're getting so much of that fruitiness.
Yeah, I was going to say it's got a nice full body to it as opposed to when you open a new bottle of Cabernet Franc and it seems to be almost thin.
Yeah, and it can be a little rough.
Yes, listener, that would mean we would cellar the wine, which means hard to do if you really like wine. Put it away for a couple of years, which is, again, difficult for some people. Yes. Very difficult for myself at times.
At Cornerstone, we do the cellaring for you.
Oh, lovely. So you buy it, put it away, and then you don't even know that you have it until a couple of years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always hiding things away, and
this has a nice peppery nose. I can smell some pepper on it when I smell it.
Stewed strawberry and black pepper. And yeah, there's a lot going on with this one.
Our producer Lukas is nodding his head agreeing.
Yes. Yeah, no, I love this one.
And also that's very slight pepper on the back of my tongue, but it's also got a nice richness to it.
Yeah.
And I just would like a steak right now.
Yeah, and I think this has several years left in it too. I don't feel like it's not at its prime, and it's certainly not past its prime. It's drinking beautifully now. And honestly, maybe a year and a half ago, it tasted completely different.
I find that a lot when you can go back and look at a wine and go, but I have the same bottle. I tried it a year later and it tastes completely different. Is it true that if you have a screw top, the wine doesn't age in the bottle?
That is kind of up for debate. That's kind of the debate that's going on with cork versus screw cap, because so much of it depends on the wine itself, and it's hard to generalize when wine can be so varied to begin with. From our philosophy is, if a wine is ready to drink right now, we just put a screw cap on it because it's ready to go. And I think psychologically, if you have two bottles of wine in your fridge and one has a cork and one has a screw cap, you're probably going to open the screw cap one first.
Depends on how lazy you are that night.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to look for my corkscrew.
And it feels like less of a commitment.
Yeah.
It feels more casual. With a cork, it almost feels like, okay, this is a moment. Am I pairing this with the right food? Have I let this age long enough? You almost hesitate with a cork.
And that's what we're talking about with this whole perception of wine. It's like, oh my God, I can't drink wine because I don't know anything. But you can. You just figure it out along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually get to make that decision. I get to decide whether it's cork or screw cap. And so generally, if, something like the rosé and the Riesling that we tried, those wines are great to drink right now. So screw cap. But something like this 2016 Cabernet Franc that we bottled 6 years ago, first of all, this wine is also only coarsely filtered. It's got a lot of sediment in it. And we knew it needed some time. 2016 was one of the great years in Niagara. And although this wine had a lot of potential and we knew that going in, I wouldn't have wanted to drink it 6 years ago, unless I decanted it, for a little bit. But
is it difficult to sell a wine to people when you're like, you can't really drink it now?
Yeah, it is. And that's why we haven't even released some of our 2020 reds. They're not, I don't think they're quite there yet. We're not really in a hurry. And I think that's what makes the bench and this, this part of Niagara a little bit different, because things are a little bit slower here. We don't feel as much pressure to pump wines out faster. If you were to go to some of the bigger wineries in Niagara Lake, or even some of the bigger ones here, you might not find anything older than, 2019 or 2020, but, and I don't know, I feel like it's just a different approach, perhaps. Maybe they're just selling more wine than I am, so they're going through it faster.
It could be.
But yeah, I'd love to see how wines can change,
That's what I love about wine. It's that you could taste a wine this year that you really like and taste the same wine next year and it tastes completely different. It's just so much fun to explore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I bet you wish you had a glass of wine now, don't you, listener?
In fact, speaking of Cabernet Franc and speaking of older
This
wines,
is really lovely, though.
I'm going to tell you a secret. And my wine club members might hate me for it, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Some of the big years that we've seen in Niagara, particularly for reds, were 2020, 2016, and 2012. Seemingly every 4 years the past while. 2012s are pretty hard to come by. I mean, it's been 12 years. But 19-year-old Nina decided to put away our 2012 Cab Franc and hold on to it and pay for warehousing fees for 12 years.
Well.
So this Christmas, we are re-releasing our 2012 Cab Franc.
Whoa.
And you know what? I opened a bottle last week after, 6 months, maybe 8 months, maybe even close to a year. It tastes like it was bottled yesterday. It still needs time.
Wow.
I served it to some wine club members, and they thought it was a new release.
That's crazy.
Which it kind of is, because
It is, because it's from 2012, yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, you would think that after that much time, the grapes would have, the wine would have evolved and it would have become like denser, or like the flavors would have evolved more.
The acidity is still there. The tannins are there. The color is a little bit of a giveaway because the color is starting to get a little less purple, a little more into that brickish orangey red. But taste-wise, you'd have no idea this wine was 12 years old.
We might want to stop for a second and just explain what tannins are, just in case someone's listening and isn't really much of a wine drinker, and we're referring to tannins a lot. Let's just kind of say what that is.
Tannins come from the grape skins, seeds, and stems. Tannins are not an enzyme, but something of the sort. I forget a technical term for it, but
Like the penicillin of wine or something?
well, what tannins do is they break down proteins.
Oh.
So that's what they're doing in your mouth, on your gums, and on the inside of your cheeks and on your tongue. They're trying to break down proteins. That's what that gritty sandpaper feel comes from. But it's also the reason that red wine with tannins has been paired with red meat since the beginning of time. Because as like a steak, it's heavy for you to break down.
Right.
But a red wine with a lot of tannins will literally help you break down and digest that as you eat it.
And it's interesting because some people have a real reaction to tannins, but we all have different palates.
Yes.
So what I like, you might not like, and Lukas might not like. And it's like, you never have to apologize for your taste in wine.
That's right.
Because we all have different taste buds, we all have different, and your taste changed over the years, I find.
Yeah, I do find that people almost see it as a goal to, drink dry, oaky wines eventually and get out of sweet wines. But some people just like sweet wines forever. My mom is a baker by trade. She's co-owner of a winery, and all she likes is sweet wines.
And my brother loves sweet wines. That's all he drinks.
Yeah.
And
people like what they like.
They like what they like, and you don't have to apologize for it.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. I grew up on, cool climate Cab Franc. I'm going to get some hate for this. I don't care for California reds. They lack complexity to me because I'm used to a red having more acidity and more tannin and less body, perhaps. So when I drink these, big California reds, they taste like grape juice to me. It's weird.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's all a matter of what you like and what you're accustomed to.
Exactly. Yeah. So what's up next, Nina?
Next, we're going to do the first wine I ever made.
Wow.
Yes, this is a fun one.
Going into the refrigerator for
get
a nice cold.
A can of wine.
We're classing it up, ladies and gentlemen.
This is, so as I mentioned, we grow about 11 acres of grapes, but we also grow 5 acres of peaches. And we have since the beginning. And the thing with peaches, there's always peaches that are overripe, peaches that fall off the tree, split pit, they're whatever the case may be. They're not pretty enough to go to the farmer's market. So we always joke, if we can't eat it, we're going to drink it. So we started making fruit wines. In fact, fruit wines were some of the first wines that we ever made. Our first peach wine was back in 2003 because we had the peach tree. So why not?
Right.
And the peach wine that we made in the past was quite different. I know your brother is a fan of it, as many others are. But it's incredibly sweet. It was entirely made of peaches. It was like syrupy sweet and like 12% alcohol. And I would always tell people, like, cut it with some ice or some soda water. Can we pause for a moment? And I actually know her. So.
Well, I know who's at the door too. It's Sarah from London Born Winery.
Hello.
Isn't this fun, listener? Because we were just talking earlier with Nina about how the Niagara region, everyone supports each other. And so Sarah is from a winery called London Born, and she popped in. So she's going to join us as we taste the Fizzy Peach.
And I think we're going to throw in a bonus.
Because we have a special guest.
Sarah's birthday wasn't too long ago. So we're going to try a new fruit wine.
But first, we're going to do the Fizzy Peach because we haven't talked about the taste of the Fizzy Peach.
That's right.
But we also, we were talking earlier about fruit wines. And why are people so down on fruit wines?
I think that there was a trend for a while that fruit wines were somehow worse or less.
Or subpar, and if you liked fruit wines, you didn't know anything about wine.
Yeah, I do think that was a mentality for a long time. But I do think it's starting to turn around. I think people are starting to realize that if it grows here, why are we not using it?
Right?
Might as well. Yeah. Especially when you think of how much produce, how much fruit gets wasted because it's not pretty, as we mentioned with the peaches, right?
Right.
How much effort it takes to grow something, and then it comes out looking, subpar. It shouldn't just be thrown away. It should be used for something.
Exactly.
So you can only eat so much jam. So I suppose fruit wine is the way to go.
Well, I think that's great. And this smells like peaches, which is a good start. Now, the Fizzy Peach is obviously not just peach. It's cut with something, right?
Yes. As we were mentioning before Sarah came in, we had done peach wine in the past that was incredibly sweet. And I would tell people, cut it with some ice, some soda water, make it into a slushy.
My brother drinks it straight.
Yeah.
He's got a sweet tooth, and he just sits in his backyard and drinks that.
And he was the target market for that. But for a lot of people, it was pretty sweet. But one of the things I would tell people is have it with Prosecco or some sparkling wine, basically a peach Bellini. And then I was like, why don't I do it for you?
Right.
Cut out the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
In a can.
What? You can take it on a picnic.
That's right. There's places you want to drink wine but not bring a bottle, right? You don't have to worry about a corkscrew. You don't even need to bring a cup. You can drink straight from the can.
Oh, it's convenience.
Yeah.
And delightful.
I know it's unconventional and maybe a little...
No, it's not. It's groundbreaking.
That's the better way of putting it.
Groundbreaking.
Yes.
You have to just twist your thinking. It's not unconventional. It's groundbreaking. It's look, I can bring some peach fizzy to a picnic. Yeah. Aren't I something?
Yeah. And the crazy thing is because you're doing peach wine with white wine, the alcohol is still pretty up there. It's 11% on the can. I believe it's 11.5 maybe. But it's a full-blown wine in a can.
It's a little sweet for my taste, but you know what? I would cut it with just more sparkling.
Yeah.
And then...
Or have it serve it over lots of ice.
Exactly. And then it would be... But, I find when the weather is as hot as it is right now, it just seems like something that's sweet makes you feel cooler. Yeah. That's what I think. Because if I was going to open up a big, hearty bottle of red wine, I'd probably feel hotter.
Yeah, I wouldn't want a glass of red sitting outside today.
No.
Definitely not, no.
The fruity, but the fizzy does its job, and it's like a popular like summertime cocktail, isn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah. My parents weren't crazy about the idea. I actually ended up doing not only doing the production myself, but paying for it myself. I booked the canning the week after my wedding, and spent all that envelope money on Fizzy Peach, hoping it would be a success. And luckily, it was. It has gone on to not only be our best-selling wine the past 2 years, but we sent it to the All Canadian Wine Championships, and it won double gold in Canada, which is
Amazing!
crazy. Yeah,
Yay! That's fantastic.
which was a shock because I'm not a winemaker. But I don't know. I feel like we should be using what we have, and we should be getting creative with it. Of course, there are rules in winemaking, but not all.
Dude, I know that like some of the rules apply to bottled wine. Does the same aesthetic apply to canned wine?
I don't think so. I think canned wine has completely opened up a Pandora's box of what is possible in winemaking. I think that if you're putting wine in a can, there's no rules anymore.
I also like how canned wine is way more acceptable now. It used to be,
A real snobby about it.
Yeah.
so many people would be like, oh, wine in a can? No, thank you. And it's something like
Where are you from?
Yeah, honestly.
You guys do some wine in a can too, right?
We have a couple wines in the can. Yeah, we do a house white and a house red in the can. And same thing with the ones they have here. They're perfect for exactly what you think they are perfect.
Yeah, for a picnic, if you're going to the beach, it's perfect because you're not sharing a bottle, you're not worrying about like anything breaking. It's convenient.
Put one in your pocket, take to the movie theater.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. This is why Nina and I are friends.
We're like, where can we sneak wine into?
I have a bucket list of all places that I've snuck wine into. So yeah,
I love it.
my friends and I, when we went to see the Sex and the City movie at a theater, we had like several bottles of bubbly with us that we opened during the movie.
Love it.
Quietly.
As you should.
As you should, because that was the kind of movie when you're there with your girlfriends watching a Sex and the City movie that you should be drinking bubbly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and no one actually figured out that we were doing it. But now, speaking of opening things,
Yes.
Nina is going to open something brand new and exciting for us.
Yes, this just came out last week, also in a can.
Ooh. Listen to that sweet sound. Listen.
Always love that sound.
This is our strawberry rhubarb.
What a pretty color.
Yeah, it's got a really pale pink color.
Yeah, it's almost like the color of like a rosé or something, but like a lighter rosé. I wouldn't say like a pinky rosé, more of a maybe not a rosé at all.
Like a very-
Strike that.
It looks like a French rosé.
Yeah, French.
Yes, a French rosé.
Yeah,
Yes,
Provence
definitely a
rosé.
Provence style rosé. Yeah,
But
and it smells
there's
like
no
rhubarb.
rosé in it. It's strawberry
Just strawberry rhubarb.
And it is called Strubarb.
Oh my god.
That is so cute.
Strubarb. That's so cute, and it's a spritz. So this also has the bubbly in it as well.
Yeah, we have this running joke at the winery that every time we do a wine in a can that's carbonated, we use a different synonym for bubbly. So fizzy, peach, sparkling, tart cherry rosé, Strubarb spritz.
Gotcha.
Mm.
We're trying not to use the same word twice, so
Yes, don't be repetitive. That's lovely.
yeah.
It's not as sweet as the peach, but it's just got that really nice summertime kind of. Yeah.
Good acidity to it, but still that summery sweetness.
And how'd you come up with this idea to do strawberry rhubarb? A lot of rhubarb and strawberry left over.
Yeah, we have access to a lot of strawberries. As I'm sure you know, your brother loves the strawberry wine too. We've done a strawberry wine in the past that was also quite sweet. And we know a lot of growers that grow strawberries. So when there are strawberries that are overripe or between seasons and they're small or whatever the case may be, we get them super cheap and make something from them. Rhubarb grows at my house like it's going out of style. There's so much of it around my barn. I figured, we have strawberries, we have rhubarb, and we have some Sauvignon Blanc. So why not?
Seems like, duh.
Yeah.
It's a practical solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I think it might be my favorite of all of your canned wines.
I think so too, because it's right in the middle.
Yeah.
The peach is quite sweet.
Yeah.
The tart cherry is quite tart. But this is just
like
refreshing.
It's got some good acidity on the back of the palate that kind of gives a little bit more character, and it's also like one note sweet. Yeah, you get some sweetness in there, obviously, but yeah, still got a little of that like tingly tartness on the side of my cheeks.
I know. I'm sure our listeners now are like, I want that right now.
Mouth watering.
Yeah, mouth watering. We have to take a photo of that one too, because that's really delightful. Like this is one that I can see flying off the shelf.
Yes.
And it's so because you think of strawberry rhubarb and pie, but you don't think about actually drinking strawberry rhubarb.
Yeah, right.
Like I don't think this is the first time I've actually had something that had a strawberry rhubarb flavor to it.
Other than a pie or a jam or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you're used to eating it, but not drinking it.
That's right.
So this is like pie. It's a pie in a glass without the crust.
Like that. Yeah. Without the crust.
Without the crust, yeah. Yeah, but if you were serving it with crackers, why would you do that?
There you go.
Yeah.
Serve it with a cookie to get the crust.
The crusty kind of thing. Yeah.
The graham cracker. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, you're on to something.
Oh, that could be, yeah. Ooh.
Now we're talking.
New tasting experience.
Yeah, you could do like a new flight with like tastings of different crackers with different wines.
Yeah.
And then
Unconventional pairings that work.
Although, would it be interesting if you tried something that was a little bit like, instead of sweet, that you had something that was like a little saltier with it? Would that alter the taste of this?
Interesting. I guess we're going to try.
Yeah. Well,
we'll have to
come back for episode 2, listeners, where
we continue to drink.
we continue to so we eat and drink and we figure out. But it's interesting because when you try ice wine and you have an ice wine, if you're not familiar, is very, 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 very sweet.
Yes.
But if you have it with a Stilton or with a very sharp cheese, it cuts down the sweetness of the wine.
That's right.
It's an amazing pairing. I am not an ice wine person, but yeah, if I have ice wine around and then you do the blue cheese thing, it's just such contrastingly different flavor profiles that they just work. So
it's fantastic.
But it's interesting how something you can eat can affect the taste of the wine.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I've made the mistake of popping a mint in my mouth and then going to a winery and I'm like, why did I do that? Because now everything tastes off to me because I've got the mint in my mouth, which is bad. So helpful note, listener, do not put mints in your mouth or chew gum before you go to a winery because it will affect.
Mint and coffee are the two worst things for wine tasting, which ironically I feel like we have most commonly. But
just have bad breath.
Yeah.
And be tired.
Just have a
and
good breakfast.
Really enjoy the wine. There's our helpful hint for today.
Don't brush your teeth. Don't have caffeine.
And have a grand old time meeting the next flame of your life at a winery.
That's right.
No, this is like, I have to say, this Strubarb spritz. Say that. That's how you know when someone's really drunk, when they say Strubarb Swit. Hello. Good. Should we pause?
Yeah. That would keep going. Up to you.
Yeah, we keep going. Well, people just came into the winery, which is great when you're at a winery because you want people to buy things.
Of course.
So yes. And they're going over to the fruity wine section, which is also really cool.
Are you folks looking for anything particular?
I just want boosters.
Okay. Do you have a little bit of time?
Sure.
Like, are you able to come back?
Mark, not with that, yeah. What is Fizzy or you? Or
Well, we're finishing up a podcast. So come on over and taste the port and be a part of the podcast. You know what? This is how we do it on this podcast. You know what? We are not pretentious.
Keep inviting
and we keep inviting people in. So come on over and if I go on that side, you stay. Okay.
We'll get Sarah on our side.
Yeah, Sarah goes over there.
You work here today.
Yeah. To see, listener, this is fun. This is fun times because we're very amiable to everything. So yes.
It's a whole different perspective of it.
It is because you know what? This is the fun part about the Niagara region that you never know what's going to happen. And this is also the idea of this podcast is that it's not about wine being pretentious. It's about wine being fun.
Yes.
And aren't we having a good time? We have special guests come in and we will in future podcasts be visiting Sarah's winery, London born. but we don't want to talk about.
Pop by that day.
Yeah, you should definitely pop by that day and be the special guest.
Happened to be there. What? Behind the scenes texting me.
That'd be so much fun. So yeah, we have another wine to get to. We have one more, right?
We do. This is our finisher, our port style wine.
Ooh.
You guys are in for a treat if you haven't had it.
I haven't actually. I've been here on many occasions, but I've never had the port.
If
You
you
always get so caught up drinking everything else.
That's right. Imagine that.
just don't
Getting
get to
caught up drinking wine. What a silly, silly thing to do. Isn't that fantastic? Yes. Okay.
And if you folks want to try anything, let us know.
Do you guys want to join us while we
As long as you're okay with your voice being
on our podcast? Yes. Come on over.
Come on over.
Okay. Whoa. But now we have some more special guests joining us. Just some random people that walked into the winery, and they're going to be a part of our wine tasting today. What are your names?
Yeah, Ryan and Neil.
And Neil? Yeah. Nice to meet you. Now we're finishing up our tasting with some port, which is probably where you would finish, but you're gonna start now. Okay. Yeah. You're in backwards.
At the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes. Where are you guys from?
The distillery at St. Catharines.
Okay, cool.
Great.
So we're going to try a splash of port.
And port, for the listener, is mostly a dessert one because it's usually sweet and heavier.
Yes.
Also served nicely with the Stilton.
I was going to say, yeah, we were talking about Stilton, amazing pairing. Port and Stilton is like classic.
It is like, the way to, when I lived in the UK, it was the classic way to end a meal.
God,
Yeah.
We're very traditional sometimes.
We've got the expert here with us. So.
I'm wondering though, what kind of, what else you could pair it with? Because I know Stilton's a little bit of a icky cheese for some people. Or...
What about a really nice aged cheddar?
Yeah, that's what I was
I
thinking.
think like something that has like that sharp cheddar, that really nicely aged cheddar would really actually like cut the sweetness down a bit. And
You know what it actually surprisingly goes with? Apple pie. The cinnamon.
I can see that, yeah. Okay,
really well.
I like that.
And a scoop of vanilla ice cream with port.
that's interesting. I've never heard anyone think about like, I also a nice dark chocolate. Like a sea salt dark chocolate.
I just have it with cigar.
Now, how did you guys come up with the idea to do a port?
It does have smoky notes, yeah.
You know what? Port is one of those things that we have done since the beginning.
Really?
Our first winemaker was a winemaker that knew how to make port. And it was his idea, and it became something we were known for. And now we just can't stop making it.
Wow. Okay. Again, the port and I said,
demand is
it smells so rich.
Yes.
That's the thing about port. It just smells really rich. It smells really fruity and very flavorful.
You definitely get those tobacco notes as well. Like
Yeah, and
sweet
it's
tobacco.
and it's like it really sticks on your tongue because it's so thick. It's just like
You hit up, like, remember the rock, so.
that's like such an interesting flavor to it. A lot of people don't like ports because they are very sweet. This one isn't as sweet as a lot of ports I've tasted, but it does have like Sarah said, like that almost smoky, tobacco-y kind of flavor to it that makes me really want cheese right now.
I haven't had some good cheese in a while.
Why don't we just... I should have brought cheese to the wine tasting with me. I should have thought ahead.
You should bring cheese on every podcast.
All right, well, the next one, yeah. When I come to yours, I will definitely bring cheese.
All right.
All right?
Awesome. We have cheese already for you. So.
Oh, well, okay, there you go. There you go. Well, I don't have to bring my own then, right? No, this port is lovely.
Yeah, so it's smoky. There's definitely some like super concentrated fruit, that like dried raisin kind of thing. But then you do get some tannin structure.
But it's interesting because when I think of port, I always think of like Portugal or like, because like places that are known more for their ports. But it's interesting because there are very few places in the Niagara region that actually do a port.
Yeah, there's only a handful. I know we're not the only ones, but I couldn't tell you what the other ones are.
I couldn't either because it's like really, it's so rare in this area to do a port. And I wonder why that is.
I think it's just, maybe Nina, who, produces it, would be able to tell more, but it's probably just because it's kind of something that Portugal is known for. And so
Exactly.
it's like, why mess with it? It's like the same reason why we are so well known for ice wine. You know, it's like, yeah, there's some other places that do ice wine, but when you think ice wine, you think Southern
Niagara.
Ontario, Niagara.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, why mess with a good thing?
And it's interesting because the bench area doesn't do a lot of ice wines because I don't think it's as cold here as it is in Niagara. But
I suppose it depends winery to winery.
what grape are you using for the port?
This is Cabernet Franc.
Oh,
That's what we grow most of. It's over half our vineyard, so we have a lot of it to work with, and I feel like it works really well for the port.
do you have a different aging process for port than you do for like a
Yes.
Cab Franc?
Port is what our barrels on their last legs are used for. It's the last thing we do with our barrels is let them sit with port in them for about 2.5 to 3 years.
Wow. But that's about the same for some wines. Or some wines can go longer, but
Sure, yeah. And kind of as you age it in the barrel, as it sits in the barrel, it's going to develop more complexity. It's going to develop more of the flavors that we're smelling and tasting in this core.
because you could never do a port in a steel barrel. It just wouldn't work.
I mean, the whole process of making port, the true port from Portugal is a whole. It's a very specific and rigorous process. So the fact that Nina at Cornerstone here does it is pretty cool. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It kind of makes you stand out even more with all your fruit wines and the canned wines.
Yeah, it's really interesting as our first winery to visit on this podcast to go to some place that has such an interesting variety as opposed to what you would get at a standard winery, because you're getting fruit wines, you're getting port, and you're getting your traditional wines as well. But you've got it's like you could bring anyone here. It's like a something for everyone. And like the people that have that misconception that wine is like snobby, well, I think we've kind of just proven that on this first episode that it's not at all. Wine is about fun. It's about sharing with people. It's about making friends, and it's that's what you do. You just have a really great time.
We're good at the making friends part.
Yeah. Especially when you take the Strubarb with you to the beach, then everyone will be like, hey, best friend, do you have an extra can of that I can hang out with? But yeah, I think that this has been like really fun. It's really
Port is very interesting. I actually haven't tasted it in probably a couple of years.
Wow.
I mean, it is a 2014, so we've been selling this.
Oh, this is lovely. It's really aged nicely.
Port is one of those things that, because it takes so long for us to make it, we'll do as much as we can at once. So, and the production is, close to a year, and then in barrels for up to 3 years. It's 4 years before it sees the shelves. So if we're going to do port, we're doing as much of it as we can.
It's just really lovely, though. I mean, like, I usually don't really like port that much, but this one I can, and if you look at the glass afterwards, listener, the legs on it, which is like the remnants of it, are just still so thick after it's almost done.
Yes.
Which is,
Tell us about legs.
I'll tell you about legs.
tell me about legs, Sarah, before we end this.
So the legs can tell you two things. The legs, again, are kind of when you swirl your glass and you see kind of remnants of the wine kind of dripping down the side of the glass. So when you do that, the sort of how slowly the legs fall can give you an indication of how much alcohol there is in the wine, and also the sugar content in the wine. So sometimes, because it's an indicator for both of those things, sometimes it can be a little bit hard to tell what you're like, whether it's an indication of high alcohol or whether it's an indication of a high sugar. With this port, definitely it's going to be an indication of a little bit of a higher sugar.
Yeah.
And probably also higher alcohol content, like 18.
18.
Yeah, so
No wonder I like it.
yeah, port will always be a higher alcohol content than your normal wine.
Great. Thanks for that, Sarah. That was really informative. Well, listener, I hope you have enjoyed our first wine tasting with Spill the Wine. And I just want to say to you, be sure to visit the show notes for more information on Cornerstone Winery. And don't forget to like and follow Spill the Wine on all the platforms for podcast. Also, if you have any topics or any wineries that you'd like us to visit, all you have to do is email us at podcastspillthewine@gmail.com. That's podcastspillthewine@gmail.com. And we will definitely get back to you. So cheers, and we will see you next time.
Cheers. Thanks, guys. Cheers.